Ape together. Strong. Me love ape franchise.
Tarzan?
I love the Ape franchise, but the Tim Burton version.
No.
Oh, yeah.
That's the only one I
With
care
Gary
about.
Oldman.
Every time I see Mark Wahlberg at Wahlburgers, I go, Mark, when you getting out of that
Doesn't
ape
eat
planet?
There. He doesn't eat there. We've seen his schedule. At no point on his schedule did it say stop by Wahlburgers.
Wait, how did you see Mark Wahlberg's schedule?
He posted it online.
What is on it? What's on it?
Well, it's like that. Everyone went crazy because it says he wakes up at 2 a.m.
Oh, God.
You don't go to sleep if you wake up at 2 a.m.
Well, he
goes
wakes
to
up
bed
at
at
2
6
a.m. He works out. He does. He has like 45 minutes of prayer time. He has his first meal. He has a second workout. He has cryo chamber. Then he has like some. It's just like he posted it, and it's just like minute to minute what he does. He goes to sleep at like 6:30 p.m. and then he wakes up at 2 a.m. again. But the problem is, if you actually look at it, there's no way. It's like literally, it's
not humanly
impossible. Like
possible.
it's like a kid trying to lie about his homework, and it's like you
Copied it from the internet?
You did a terrible job of this because it's like 30 minutes for running 1,000 miles or whatever. He's like, run 1,000 miles, and there's a 30-minute window for that, and you're like, don't think that's how running 1,000 miles works.
What do you think the guy who he blinded thought of
I
that?
knew Adam was gonna bring. I was waiting for.
They've had the
There's
guy
a
who
whole
blinded
episode
him.
on actors.
I thought
that
you were gonna
have
ask
named
like
people.
what time he beats up and blinds to.
The guy he blinded said he's okay with him.
He has to.
He
be.
got a
He has to be
Wahlburgers
'cause he's
franchise.
beloved.
Yeah, he wants. If
Yeah,
he wants that
I mean,
free cash
just-
card at Wahlburgers.
Well, welcome to Filmhouse, everybody. This week's episode is sponsored by Hims. My name is Daniel. I've got Elise Willems, Adam Kovic, and James Willems with me
Hello.
today. Say hello.
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 Thank you.
Hello.
Oh.
So this week we're going to talk about film franchises, maybe kind of broadly, the ones we like, the ones we think are good, and even maybe more so the ones that are bad or never really got off the ground. Maybe kind of started with one movie that people disliked so much they didn't get to make the other 5 or 6 that they were sure they were going to make. What kind of film franchises are you guys into?
Well, I think one thing I do want to bring up. I don't want to talk about MCU.
No universes.
Expanded universes.
We can take a week without talking about Marvel in this office
This is something Dan and I talked about too, where like even the notion of franchise has shifted a little bit
because of the universe.
now we're looking at like extended shared universes, which we build our films and characters in, which is kind of cool. I do have one on my list, The Cuckoo. The Conjuring cinematic universe.
Is that what it's called?
That's what I call
Yeah,
it.
that's what it's
Cuckoo.
called. Yes.
That's from the Aquaman director, right?
James Wan
I like
did
that.
set up The Cuckoo.
To visualize this, Dan clicked on Underworld Awakening.
Fair enough.
But yeah, I do dabble and enjoy those.
What makes The Cuckoo so goo-goo for you?
Excuse me. I think because there aren't any. There are a few like.
What's
horror-
going on
I'm
over there? Are you
joking.
throwing up? Just
There
thinking
are
about
a
it?
few horror franchises that are out there and doing well, but this one is more the shared universe, which I think is cool for horror.
It's strange. Horror kind of lends itself to franchises. Like all the classic ones, the Friday the 13th and the Halloweens, but even more recent stuff like this Conjuring. Is there something about horror,
Yes.
the genre, that allows it to be reiterated
Yeah, it's
sometimes?
formatted.
Yeah.
I think that's what, like, anytime you think of a new horror movie, the ones that stand out are the ones that have a new format is almost industrialized in a
Saw?
lot of ways. Yeah, I mean, Saw isn't just about a new exciting killer. It's about a new way to be scared, right?
Yeah, it's about
That's what it's about. Like,
I can see it as torture porn, but
it's still horror.
And they're traps, like they're machines and traps,
Yeah.
right?
I guess.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of curious because I've only seen, I think, the first Conjuring and then nothing else.
Really? Oh.
No, I don't like jump scare movies, and that's all I really got out of it. And it was it's that type of movie where the violin just really reverberates back and forth for about 20 seconds, and then a door gets hit or something, and then
Boom.
I was like, that was enough for me. I don't need to go back. I like the actors in it, but then They gave that fucking doll its own spin-off movie.
Yeah, the doll's got 3 movies now.
The doll's 3 movies?
Yeah, the 3rd one comes out this year.
So is the nun part of this Dooku?
Yeah.
Or Cuckoo? Sorry.
The nun, and the crazy thing about the nun is Lorraine Warren, who is played by Vera Farmiga. You think her sister plays the character in the nun, the main character.
Oh.
Lorraine, like her real life sister.
Okay.
But then they're not. That's not her.
It's just whatever.
Like they've set up all this weird shit, and you're like, what are you guys doing?
I don't think they really know with that stuff.
Okay. Is Sinister in it too?
No, Sinister.
No, technically Sinister is not.
No, wait. I get Sinister mixed up with another one. There's the
Insidious?
Insidious, yeah. So Insidious is not, because
No.
Patrick Wilson's in both of those.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Aquaman.
So never, okay. And he's in Aquaman, yeah.
He's done 5.
Patrick
He's
Wilson-
done 5 with James Wan.
We've talked about him before. Patrick Wilson is man.
He is.
He is
Hold on.
quintessential human.
He's
white bread man.
He's man with issues or inferiorized man.
Okay.
Or whatever.
Seems kinda like a
Because
cuck.
man is the dude from Terminator Genesis.
Oh, that's right.
That dude is man. Or,
Yeah.
or
Australian
Sam
guy?
Worthington.
Sam
Jason
Worthington,
Clarke.
Jason Clarke.
That's him.
Those are man.
And he's an
because
8 movie.
Because they show up in things where anyone could be. And the characters that he plays have no attributes whatsoever other
Right.
than the fact that they are white men, right? That's it.
What a lottery to win.
Patrick Wilson at least plays interesting characters, except it's always the same character who's emasculated in some way.
And becomes Ocean Master.
Yeah, he's weak. He's weak or fighting to show everyone he isn't weak. So
I guess when I think of like franchises now, I think of the extended or shared universes. I think of the sequential narrative universes like Rocky, which we're going to talk about, right? Which is like it's taking a story and then carrying it over from film to film. And then I think of like a James Bond, which is entries in a long running franchise. So like
Just
you
the
know,
same character over.
yeah,
and over.
there are some Bonds that like, and especially in recent years, which have had plots that carry over between movies, narratives that flow from movie to the next. But then otherwise, it's like
it's not necessary.
there's no connective tissue to some of them other
Yeah.
than it's the character James Bond on his mission.
Yeah.
Well, that was just something sort of got me thinking about it after I saw Creed 2. There are a few film franchises that once they can make it past the third one, they seem to go into a new territory of sort of coming back. That I was used to that as a kid. It was always like by the third movie it just sucks.
Yeah.
Batman Forever, Superman,
Police Academy.
Indiana
No, you're
Jones.
absolutely right though.
The major league movies.
Yeah, it was for some reason there was this curse that by the time a movie got to the third one, it was like I thought that was going to happen with Mission Impossible, but then
It got
20
better.
years later,
Yeah.
they're still making pretty damn good movies.
Sometimes the timing of it is if there's a one movie concept that does really well, and then all the executives go, oh shit, and then they're like, this is something, like, then the odds are that by the third one it'll be way worse. But if it's just like, if it's built as a franchise, there's a chance that it'll be better. I'm going to say something like Harry Potter or whatever.
Okay,
Like,
I'm
you'll
sure.
have better odds if you're thinking in terms of franchising from the beginning. But there's also another scenario where it seems like it's going to franchise, it kind of fizzles or just doesn't work out for whatever reason, and then you revisit it, which is, I think, kind of what happened with the Rocky franchise and Mission Impossible.
They got stale.
It didn't necessarily get stale because Mission Impossible 2 made a shit ton of money. People forget that.
well, we have Limp Bizkit
it just
doing the
didn't-
soundtrack,
Rocky
doesn't
more.
it?
It just didn't work out. Yeah, Rocky,
You
you
introduce
can
robots
see
and-
it's just like, it just starts becoming less and less and weaker and weaker and weaker until it's just this completely diluted, distorted version of the original. And you're like, all right, let's take a break. And when they do decide to come back, you're like, oh shit, you've gone back to what made this good.
So what is it about a Rocky and like I guess Rocky Balboa and Creed that are successful? Maybe whereas like they tried the same thing with Rambo and it didn't
I
work.
think I think with Rocky, it's like it's when you revisit it matters, because Rocky 5 probably wasn't the right time to return to Rocky's story, but Rocky Balboa was like amazing. I just get like goosebumps when I think about it, because that movie totally like transformed what we thought of Rocky, and I thought it was a great conclusion to his story. Reinvigorating it with like a new character story in Creed I didn't think that they could like bring back Rocky, because to me Balboa was the closure of Rocky.
That's the one where they run like a computer simulation and they're like, hey, they did a simulation against Rocky versus this great fighter right now, and like you win or something. So like, so why don't you do it?
Yeah.
I only saw the trailer. I never actually saw the movie. That's also my weird thing. I've only ever seen Rocky 4 all the way through.
Oh.
Not even the Rockies?
We talked about this before. There's so many movies that I grew up watching that were either on TV or playing at someone's house. Where
TNT on Saturday afternoon.
Or have been spoofed to death, where I feel like I've seen the movie, but I actually haven't seen the movie. So I've never... Like, I've seen some of the Rockies on TV. Only actually sat down, watched 4 all the way through. Creed 1 and 2. I've actually never, like, sat down and watched any other Rocky movie. But I know the story of Rocky 1, beginning, middle, and end. And I know every moment, but I'll never get to experience it because by the time I was able to watch it, it had already been spoofed a million times. So it's ruined for me.
So something like Rocky, I think, works. And the reason Creed, you can pass the torch to a brand new character in Creed, though I don't know how much further they want to drag that franchise out. But it's because of the depth of character. Rocky is the titular character of the film, and the only reason the first movie is so good is because the character has so much depth and is performed with such depth that most of the movie isn't about boxing.
Yeah.
It's about this guy who's just bouncing a ball around on the sidewalk. Like, that's what most of the movie is. There's more time him ice skating with Adrian than there is like him in a ring.
Sure.
And so but that's why you're like, okay, well, there's more that we can tell of this. What happens when he gets older? That's why Rocky Balboa is so good. Well, what happens when he's past it? He was already past his prime, but now what about when he's truly, completely, utterly past his prime?
Child.
Yeah. I mean, the problem with the 5 version is they thought we were interested in the child.
Is that what happened in Rocky 5? I was going to ask you. You mentioned that. I have no idea.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, it's displaced, father-son relationship, because then when Tommy comes in and he's training him, and there's a whole but his relationship with his son doesn't want to go into boxing or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. But Creed 2 kind of does some reparations to the failed Rocky son relationship or storyline.
Mm-hmm. Creed 2 is a better version of the exact same plot of Rocky 5. And it works because they realize that you either have to give us a really interesting character, which Rocky 4, his son in that is terrible. I mean, just horrible, portrayed by his Sylvester Stallone's actual son, who is not an actor and is just not good. And you don't care about him, and he's kind of an asshole. But then you get Michael B. Jordan, who's just a big ball of charisma, who we already like, and now you can inject him into that story, and so there's character there. Now we get to see what this character we love does when faced with a conflict with this other character.
And you're juxtaposing 2 father-son relationships and then combining them for 2 men who have these weird estranged relationships in different ways. I get goosebumps when I talk about Rocky. I think about Rocky.
The difference there between Batman is because what is the character of Tim Burton's Batman?
Hey, whatever you need.
That's not what. It's fine. It's not a fault of the movie, but that's not what makes the movie interesting. Much so that when they made Tim Burton's Batman, they just skipped the whole fucking origin. They just jumped into him having been Batman for however X amount of years, and then gave you a flashback that kind of showed you what's up with that. Just honestly, so they could develop the Joker, not so they could develop Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
And so by the time you get to number 3, you're like, so he talks to a therapist. I don't give a shit. I don't care at all.
That's just, I guess, because filmmaking has changed, where you see it succeeding, you see it fail, where people go, this is going to be a franchise. Golden Compass is going to blow you away. And the first one fails, and they go, never mind. I'm sorry. Or Percy Jackson or any of these other things, which those are based on books, yes. But
I think Golden Compass, they're going to do Dark Materials as a TV show.
They are,
That's fine.
Yeah.
And Dan and I...
Give it another try.
We were talking
to
about
Lemony
this.
Snicket, which was a failed first movie in a series that maybe it's just not meant for movies. Now that TV production value
that's
is
a
high
great
enough.
comparison.
I was saying to Dan earlier, Lemony Snicket didn't work as a film. I think the series is flawed. I watched it all, but that might be the format for some things and why some of these franchises can't get off the ground because it's not the right place for them.
Flawed, but we watched 3 seasons of it, which is
there's a 3rd season?
8 episodes, 8-hour-long episodes. So that's a lot, way more than I could tolerate of the movie. Yeah. So.
But the Batman comparison now, it was interesting that when they looked at the Dark Knight trilogy, they said there was going to be a beginning, middle, and end, and it worked really well. But it seems to be the way movies used to work, and this goes for Rocky and a lot of other, even the original Planet of the Apes. The first one comes out, and they go, it's done. We wipe our hands of this. We're moving on. And they go, hey, that movie did really well. How much would it cost to have you do another one? And they go, I guess we could do some more stuff. Whereas now they're thinking, well, maybe this could move on. Whereas like it's really interesting that Rocky came back from that, because Rocky seemed to have the sequelitis problem where they're like, what the fuck do we do? He has brain damage. He can't box anymore. He's got to train someone else, I guess. I don't know.
Well, I think a lot of it, like what you're saying too, where it's like this movie would come out and make a ton of money, and the studio would say, we need to return to this. I think a lot of directors used to be like, I'm not making a sequel. That's
bad.
beneath me. Yeah, sequel bad. No, so then they'd attach it to somebody that didn't have that original vision or passion, and obviously it just didn't have the magic
skill,
or skill, and didn't have the magic. But now I think directors are like, you have your Guillermo del Toro, who's like, I want to make 3 Hellboys. They're not going to let him make 3 Hellboys. He makes 2. But
the best and worst example of franchise fatigue, I want to say, is the Terminator franchise.
Oh my gosh!
Because the first one did well, and they said, all right, James, here's your money. You can make a sequel. Could have done the exact same thing, and he didn't. In fact, he made a movie that's one of the few sequels where the sequel makes the original one better. And then
he did it with Alien 2 as well.
He did, but he didn't do the first one. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
I mean, he did a great job with Aliens because he expanded on it. And that's what I don't think anyone typically does. They seem to be doing it more these days, like with Creed. Like, someone asked the question, like, well, what is Apollo's kid doing these days? But then, like, with Terminator, they said, well, what if we did this? And the problem is the studios or other people, I feel like they lose the substance of what made that sequel better. And they said, they look at the base and they go, oh, they had a liquid Terminator. I get it. We need a new gimmick every movie. That's what we do. And they go, no, you have to just change the formula. Yeah. That's what you do, because Terminator 3 is just Terminator 2 again, but far worse.
And I think it helps, like we talked with Rocky, where like if you have a character and you're focusing on like what that character's story is, you're not stagnant through life. Like you go through like phases through life. You go through changing, and that's why like James was saying too, like we want to see what would old Rocky be like. And so when the compromise is like, well, let's just make a new liquid metal man. Like, let's not showing any growth.
Well, even worse.
Right?
And did you watch
sitcom,
Did you watch Genesis?
Oh, I didn't see Terminator Genesis.
They whiffed hard on that. They go, what if we get a liquid Terminator, but he's Asian? You're like, okay.
Wasn't he supposed to be playing Jason Patrick's character?
It doesn't matter.
What if he's Asian? But let's not go that far. He'll only be Asian for the beginning, and then he'll turn into a white dude.
Oh, did that happen?
Yeah, because he becomes John Connor.
There's a completely different liquid Terminator.
No. There's an Asian Terminator at the beginning of the movie.
He's liquid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then to get in close, he turns into John Connor, and then he stays as John Connor for the rest of the movie.
Didn't they spoil that whole movie in the trailer?
Yeah.
Well, they spoiled that. They spoiled that
aspect. The reveal at the end of the film?
That John Connor's the bad guy, but who the fuck cares, because they recast John Connor to a nobody, and they didn't make it matter. So when they were like, they ruined my movie by spoiling it in the trailer, I was like, no. You made it. You ruined it.
Yeah. Every person you cast in this movie was bad. But
I think a lot of it comes from inclination. Yeah. I think when they made Creed, Ryan Coogler, right? Mm-hmm. He was like, I have what I think is a really good idea for a story. I think this guy's a real character, and I think I see how he could reasonably fit in good improv. You know, I always talk about franchises having to have good improv. Yeah. And like, you can be a great movie, but if you didn't play nice with the one that came before it, then you're just a bad improv partner. Creed is great. It doesn't step on anything. It doesn't rewrite anything. It doesn't make new rules. It's just an extension of and a continuation of.
Feels like a realistic progression.
With a new perspective and a fully realized character. And everyone was like, this is fucking great.
Yeah.
That's great.
So, we're talking about franchises and having rolling with the punches. What about something like Prometheus, where the Alien franchise is pretty good, but then really took a downturn, similar to Terminator, but they were trying something different. Like, it wasn't just trying to have new aliens in a new location. Prometheus was trying to be something else.
I mean,
Prometheus has interesting world building and mythology. I think it just, maybe, for me personally, it suffered from making me care about the stakes. Of it. I think, to James's point about bad improv, like Alien 3 is basically no, but you know, they did.
Yeah.
Like,
but yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think Prometheus is also bad improv too. because they were like, well, actually, here's what happened before. And I'm like, never cared, never asked that question at all. Didn't concern me.
Sometimes
a lot of people
you don't
did
ask
wonder
it.
what
Even
the
match
architect
up.
was.
Sometimes you don't ask it, but they teach you that you should have cared.
Yeah,
you know?
except that it's stuff like spoiler for Crimes of Grindelwald, but like the end of that, you're like, hey, here's an answer to a question that nobody ever thought to ask
How do
because it's
wizards
not
poop?
important at all. Like,
Harry Wizards?
also,
Did you hear a tweet
Prometheus.
recently?
I saw that.
Wizards got rid of poop before bathrooms.
Yeah,
Because
there
they would
were
just
no
take
toilets.
they take a shit
in
on the
Hogwarts.
floor and then go like, pooperatus. And
That was
then
a
it
whole
would go-
movie.
There's honestly like the people working on Harry Potter need to just take a step back, put that creativity towards something else, because these are all.
J.K. Rowling?
I mean, it's not just her.
Maybe
It's gotta be a bunch of
someone can
people.
help in the comments or tweet us or whatever, but has there been a time in cinematic history where you've gone back in time and you answered a question to either something you didn't know or you didn't know about, and you were impressed?
Phantom Menace.
No, that one doesn't work either.
Oh, you mean like a prequel to
yeah,
a movie?
every time they do it, it's
Where they
bad.
go back in time.
So like
It
Solo,
never helps.
how did he get that gun?
Scream
No one cares.
3
Okay,
and
go on.
Scream 2. Billy Loomis's. It was not Billy. It was
Oh,
Billy
but-
Loomis's
oh,
mother.
that movie
isn't
oh, it was
set
not
there, right?
Billy
That's a
Loomis.
right. That's a right.
Oh, yeah,
Godfather
go
2.
What?
Oh, yeah,
Godfather
Godfather
2. But that was
2.
like 30 years ago, so it doesn't.
Godfather 2.
So what was the really interesting thing that they did?
How did Don Corleone get to Don Corleone?
That's, yeah, I it's.
No, yeah.
I think.
But when The Defense is a movie that came out 30 years ago, it's not a defense.
I'm thinking more along the lines of
bet-
like, those like really dumb.
Indiana Jones.
No, Temple of Doom's the worst.
No.
Yeah, it is.
Worse than Crystal Skull?
I think it might be. I
It-
just watched it recently.
Temple Doom has the coolest intro.
What?
When he's in that casino.
Have you actually seen how
gotta
Temple
watch
of
it.
Doom starts? It starts with the musical number, fully
know.
realized on a Broadway stage.
That's great.
No, it's bad.
I guess I'm
I would
thinking
say
more,
they're both terrible.
I'm thinking more like minute details. So like in Terminator Salvation, they went really far their way to go, this is how he got his scars. Like, no one cares. No one cares how he got a scar. No one cares how Han Solo got his belt buckle.
Or his name.
Or what? Yeah, where's the name come from? Like Prometheus, same thing too. It's like maybe it's more interesting that we don't know where the aliens come from
you-
because that's
Just bring up
better.
a list of prequels. I'd just be curious, other than Godfather 2, if there's ever been something like this where it's gone back ahead of time. Again, Godfather 2 is a character.
Well, I mean, I guess Batman Begins went back beyond our current cinema consciousness of Bruce Wayne.
Yeah,
right?
but in its own world, it started in the present.
Yeah,
Oh,
I mean, like,
Huntsman.
oh
Yikes.
yeah,
The Thing.
No.
none of these get my rocks
no.
off. I'm sorry.
Joseph, King of Dreams.
No, that one didn't do it for me
No.
either. I'm sorry. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, like even Batman though, they did the thing where they said, "Oh,
Rise
Ra's
of
al Ghul
Empire.
had a daughter."
oh Annabelle Creation is better than the first Annabelle
Hey,
film.
I got one. Bumblebee.
No,
It's on the
no,
list,
Very
yeah.
timely.
no, and I hated the way they did that in Bumblebee. Where at the very end, spoiler, we're totally spoiling Bumblebee. Sorry, at the very end he goes, "I'll be Camaro now," and you're like, I didn't need that.
Wait, what?
I didn't need it to circle. So the whole movie, he's a VW
Right.
bug,
He's
like he was in the
Bumblebee.
cartoon. People were really upset. People, when the first Transformers movie came out, said, "Why the fuck is he a Camaro and he becomes a new Camaro?" I was like, "Because GM gave the movie a bunch of money so they would show off their cars. That's why." So at the end of Bumblebee, he looks out at the freeway and goes, "Camaro now," and he becomes a Camaro for no reason other than it's yellow, so that it syncs back up with the first movie that they're pretty much retconning anyway, because all those movies retcon each other no matter what. And I was like, they didn't have to do that. It didn't need that.
X-Men: Days of
It,
Future
it
Past.
didn't need it. Yes, you're right. It didn't need
That's
it.
a good pass.
But it didn't
That's a good
ruin the
pass.
movie.
Castle
And
of
it still,
Cagliostro is one.
it
No, the
still
movie was good.
allows. It still allows Bumblebee to be far superior to the other ones.
I agree.
I would say not Grindelwald, but like when
Kong
you look
Skull
at
Island?
and it's
but that's
That's a reboot of a
Yeah,
whole thing. That's
it's-
its own
yeah,
thing.
it's
when
not
you
so-
look
I'm
at
not, this is Wikipedia's
it's
list.
it's just an aside in the books and whatever, an aside in the movies too. But I do like the little backstory of the Elder Wand in Harry Potter. It's fun.
Yeah, you can like things that you could read in a Wikipedia article, but in terms of whether or not you think the movie really adds something, no, absolutely not.
Can I-
Scorpion King.
No, but like even in Grimble Balls, like when they go, "Thank you so much, McGonagall." Like what? Who does that
I mean,
help?
No, that's bad. That's
It's
really
also bad because it's bad improv because it doesn't make.
I'm sure
any
we'll
sense.
think of something. Can I say something that I wanted to say about
Yes.
Viva Rock
franchises?
Care Bears 2. Go ahead.
Something that I think. Oh, there was the Dumb and Dumber when Harry met Lloyd.
They're all terrible. You're right.
This is a completely different aspect of the topic, but I do think there are certain franchises that rest on certain talent, and the Naked Gun movies. There is no one you could make those movies with other than Leslie Nielsen in the role of Frank Drebin.
O.J. Simpson.
Well, the third one wasn't as good, and it was missing a little bit of that running magic.
So there was
murdering magic.
There was also a period of time in the middle to 90s to early 2000s where you could not make a good movie.
Like at all?
Yeah.
When?
Mid 90s to like early 2000s, you just couldn't make a good movie. It just
I
wasn't
just think it at face
possible.
value.
Wasn't that when Lord of the Rings came out?
No.
Oh, okay. So
There was
getting off
something
track,
that
I
opened
think.
up in the
All right,
space
yeah.
time
so
continuum.
actually, here's one thing. I will say this. I did think of the one prequel where I did like it.
What is it?
I don't think I should go into full detail on it, but
Do.
Fargo,
Oh, yeah.
the movie, got a TV show, and it didn't have to. It had no right to do this, but it loops itself into the Fargo universe or whatever, and it's so minor and it was so good.
Fargo, the TV show, is
It's
amazing.
fantastic.
The
All
first
of
two
it.
seasons I thought were.
I thought the third season was great.
I think
too,
the
but
second is the
it's a little
best.
I was a
more-
little iffy on the third, but I still enjoyed.
2 was better.
it.
I think it's the best.
I just think, yes, but that's TV. Again, that's TV.
Yeah,
And sometimes that's where the medium belongs, if there's another story to
Yeah.
tell. I also think, like Elise said, though, there's an auteur factor. There's definitely like a talent factor, and sometimes it's cyclical. So, like, you won't get James Cameron agreeing to make Terminator 3 because he's over that shit and he wants to do other things. But if someone else raises their hand and said, I'd love to do it, they're the wrong person for the job.
Well, why does-
because they're not going to do it very well. That means they're a director for hire. But if you give it like 10, 12 years and someone says, I'll do it, it's because they were a fan and were influenced by that property and they have an actual good idea again.
Why does Michael Bay make like 6 Transformers movies?
He has ego issues.
Okay.
I honestly believe, and I've never spoken to him before in my life, but I honestly believe he hates the idea of someone else doing it for him. Because I think he feels like that emasculates him.
I told this to, I think I said this to James and Bruce before. I'm not sure if you were in the room, Elise, but I said, my problem with Michael Bay is every time he makes a movie, his first question is, what would the president think about this?
In what respect?
And I think that's why Bumblebee works so well, because it's such a small scale. Never once they went, Mr. President, there is a Bumblebee out there. And he goes, call in the Air Force. And that's honestly, that was one of the reasons why that was one of the moments I didn't like in Dark Knight Rises. When I go, Mr. President, we need to bomb Gotham City. It's like, take the fucking White House out of it. Like, keep it to the characters and like, we don't need to go to Washington to find out this stuff.
They
like,
should have called what's Tiny Lister,
who?
the criminal from the boat with the cross-eyed, the president. So, like, we gotta bomb the city. What do you think we should do? And he's like on the phone in prison. Let him live.
He's the president from The Fifth Element.
Let me ask you a question, Adam. When you're looking at a sexy man, what is the first thing that you see when you look at him?
Chris Hemsworth.
Oh, well, there. And his sexy hair, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely.
So there is a problem out there with men our age and their hair and losing it. 66% of men in their 30s start losing their hair. Is your hairline slowly starting to sneak backwards like mine? I see my luscious locks starting to slip back, and honestly, it scares me a bit. One of the problems with hair loss is that once you start to notice it, it's too late. The thing is that it's far easier to keep the hair you already have than to replace the hair you've lost. Do you want your hairline to recede entirely, or do you want to do something about it? Why turn to weird pills and supplements from the corner liquor store, or rhino horn and giraffe foreskin from the dark net, when you can turn to real medicine and actual science? The solution to this hairy problem is 4hims.com, a one-stop shop for hair loss, skincare, and sexual wellness for men. Thanks to science, baldness can be optional. Hims connects you to real doctors and medical-grade solutions to treat hair loss. Hims provides well-known, generic equivalents to name-brand prescriptions to help you keep your hair. These are prescription solutions backed by science. Please go and discuss this with your doctor. See if this is safe for you and your particular body and health situation, and then hit up Hims. Hims makes it so easy. Answer a few quick questions which a doctor will review and then prescribe you should everything check out. The products are shipped directly to your door. No need to wrestle with a pharmacy down the street. Order now and Filmhouse viewers will get a trial month of Hims for just $5 today, right now while supplies last. See the website for full details on this offer. This would cost you hundreds if you went to the doctor or a pharmacy. So go to forhims.com. That's FORHIMS.com/filmhouse, FILMHAUS. That's forhims.com/filmhouse. So back to franchises. We could talk about Mission Impossible, but at least had a
That's Men in
franchise.
Black.
A franchise that I think
I get confused.
got lost in. I made a note of it. Got lost in the
Shuffle.
late '90s shuffle. Was Lethal Weapon.
Oh yeah.
Because Lethal Weapon 1 and 2 are great movies.
Mm-hmm. What about 3, 4, 5, and 6?
Oh, not so good
Or
movies.
Die Hard.
They're not. Are
And
they?
then-
Are they?
But then this is an example of somebody went 20 years later and said, it's the wrong example, where you said maybe, like Fargo.
Yeah.
Fargo is an example of 20 years later, bringing it to television,
Yeah.
a different medium, doing the story great. Someone brought it to television and said, let's do Lethal Weapon.
Yeah.
And they were just fighting on set. They
that
don't
was a
care
disaster,
about
right?
the show.
There's a difference
That dude was a
between
maniac.
brand recognition and having someone who's like, I have a really good idea for a story for Fargo.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Lethal Weapon series and the the MacGyver series, and now there's what's the new one? The former
Well, there was a
Magnum
Hawaii
PI.
Magnum
Five-O.
PI
Oh, of
and
course.
Hawaii Five-O. These are just because these are
It's just
names,
brand-
and
yeah,
they're like,
it's-
this way we don't
yeah.
have to make a new font.
Which is so. Well, it's brand
It's
recognition.
just to reuse a font.
I hate that they're like they do that to bring back a show that's like it's already all. They're just using the tropes that the show or the movie had already done. It's like, do you need to call it Lethal Weapon to do a show about a hothead and a normal other cop is ready
He's
to
too
retire?
old. Yeah.
to get a studio executive to say yes, you do. It turns out.
Well, and I think
So,
maybe one of the reasons something like Fargo is successful is, again, the talent behind it. We were talking about the auteurs and the people that actually care about making movies and do it well. Was it Noah Holloway? Is that the guy's name
Yes.
that did Fargo and then
He did
Legion?
that, Legion, and he's doing something else.
But
That's
an
cool.
extremely talented guy making Fargo is a lot different than generic TV director number one making Fargo or Lethal Weapon, the TV show.
How dare you? There's some real talent behind Game of Thrones.
I do think so.
Is
Kind
it
of like
Holly? It just came out.
we talked
Howell?
about. I think
yeah.
the horror
HAW.
genre is the same
Howley.
as the action genre, though, too.
Like Halloween or Leatherface.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think the
or-
horror genre is about like
Oh.
the premise of it,
Oh, yeah.
right? Is it a giant looming figure that stalks? Is it every time you go to sleep? I think that's a big. You don't need character.
I mean, sometimes
For big or
it's,
well for
it's
that.
just great premise.
That's I think premise can go.
Because I think Planet of the Apes is great premise.
yeah.
James Bond is great character. It's like this is a great
Wait, you
character
think,
archetype.
so Planet of the Apes you think is great premise?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do. I think it's a really interesting
Monkey
film. I know
people.
you love to shit on Planet of the Apes, but people become monkey servants is great premise.
So
I
real
think-
quick, the thing that Noah Holloway's attached to is Doctor Doom movie.
Okay.
Okay.
I think. See, for me, the Planet of the Apes seems like it is actually character that is driving that franchise. It's Caesar.
Yeah, because what if
I don't think people care as
Circus.
much about the promise of apes battling tanks as you do, but I think, or riding horses as you do. I think most people, I think the reason that has 3 movies is because of Andy Serkis as Caesar and people are invested in him as a character. That's why everything else, every single movie, everything around Caesar changes.
I
Except for
feel,
him.
I feel like
It was
the
Earth the whole
apes,
time.
Apes movies is the better version of the Jurassic World franchise. Like they are
I mean,
actually,
that could be literally. I took a shit earlier today. That's the better version.
but
of the
I
Jurassic
mean
World
it's
franchise.
still the same sort of concept. Caesar is blue. That's your comparison there, and then
hard disagree. Caesar
experiment-
is Chris Pratt.
I don't know.
Absolutely, yeah. Caesar isn't just an
No.
Blue has
Chris
a
Pratt wishes he was
personality-less
Caesar.
object.
No, I think people are because I only say that because we saw a preview for Jurassic World 2 or whatever it was, and then like he goes blue, and someone goes, someone in the audience, he's
Blue's
back,
back.
and I was like, shut up,
What?
you don't care, you don't care about the CGI dinosaur. He's not real. Caesar's real.
Godzilla's another franchise that they keep reinventing, and
Well,
I didn't see the last one, but
hasn't
some
gone
people
away
liked
for
it.
70
Shin
years.
Godzilla's
Well, I think sometimes you can see when franchises are successful is because people understand the premise of Godzilla was, man, how cool is it that this man in a suit smashes a miniature city?
Yeah.
How cool or how frightening or what an emotional response I get to seeing that excitement. And then they were like, let's remake it. Put Aaron Taylor Johnson in there, saving a little Asian boy, and let's make that most of the movie. And, shockingly, there was no sequel to that.
Well, no, it's happening now.
Now there is, but you know what they had to do? They had to reset the whole fucking thing. They had to bring in a new director.
Oh, okay.
They had to bring in basically a whole new premise for it.
10 more
which,
monsters.
by the way, what does the premise appear to be from the trailer? A bunch of big fucking monsters battling each other as 11 watches. Like, that's hopefully as much as we get.
I saw a YouTube thumbnail that just showed her, the girl 11, and it just said, mouth breather, question mark?
Perfect.
Jesus
I think in Mission Impossible's case, it's a perfect example of the action genre.
Mm-hmm.
Fast and Furious is another one. People are there to see what is going to happen this time.
Yeah.
And they've actually leaned into it as a
How
franchise.
do you guys feel about Toy Story being? You didn't like Toy Story 3 seemed like such a poignant end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought it was ready to be done, but
Yeah.
But money.
money, I
that's
guess.
that's the scary thing about Toy Story 4 is because that is a movie about the characters. They lured people in with the promise of computer things puppeteering and moving around and celebrity voices, but people have stayed around and it's been successful because the characters are so strong.
The
And
emotional
3 had such
connection.
an amazing climax and closure for those characters that you didn't ever really think you needed from the first movie.
know, yeah.
But that's why I think everyone's kind of approaching, everyone that is over 13 years old is approaching for like,
Yeah, I think what
We
you
already
kind of
talked about death in the last one.
yeah,
right?
what
Yeah.
you
That should
kind
be the
of
end.
want out of that is for 10 years from now, Pixar to make a movie that's about like, I don't know, it's just a movie where there's a cool female protagonist, maybe. She's like a fighter or something, or superhero, whatever. And then there's a scene where she goes back to her childhood bedroom and there's Toy Story toys in the background, and then everyone goes, "Oh my God, the character from this Pixar movie is the girl from the Toy Story 3." It's got the characters.
like a split sort of thing.
Yeah, that's maybe the most I think I would have ever wanted more of those characters was to see them turn up like that, and you have that you know.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
that was a weird thing. Like when Toy Story 3 was announced, I was like, do we need this? And you saw it, you're like, oh, well, that was beautiful
excellent.
closure. That's done. And then, I mean, even 2 is like, cash grab. 2 is great. Like, they only got better.
well,
Actually, I haven't seen 3 since it's come out.
I'm just gonna, generally the brain breaks things down into 3 parts, beginning, middle, end.
Mhm.
And that's why we always end up with trilogies,
Yeah.
right?
Sure.
Is because you have
Reaction-
this,
it's a-
and so
yeah.
Toy Story 3 felt like, okay, what happens when a new toy arrives?
Mm-hmm.
What is the everyday existence of toys once the status quo has been set?
Mm-hmm.
And then what happens at the end of a toy's life cycle? And then you're like, okay, now I know everything.
Mm-hmm.
So when they go, but 4, you're like,
And the weird
do they
What
think
happens
it
when
was
Andy
missing?
fucks?
premise of 4 seems like there's a toy that the child made that's incorporated, and it's like a
Frankenstein
monstrosity.
monster.
Yeah.
If it's
Yeah.
not in Minecraft, I don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
It's a fidget spinner.
Yeah. But it's, I guess, yeah, I mean, if it's dealing with like Andy's drug addiction or like how much he's really into whores or something, and the toys have to keep it a secret. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
There was, did I send you guys that block of text where the guy talked about his like Toy Story fantasy?
I don't think so.
Where he was like, my fantasy is to like find the toys from Toy Story and like jizz on their faces and then leave them in the room.
Oh,
But
yeah.
but knowing that they can't get up and clean it up because then they'll know that I know they're real and they can't do that.
Oh, that's funny.
That's a real specific kink.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was funny. It was dark. I don't know if it was real, but
No,
anyway.
I like it.
Yeah.
Are you sad
Ninja
right
Turtles?
now?
Why for this?
The Ninja Turtles?
No,
Because
I
James,
saw it, dog.
It was
because James
great.
and I were the only ones who liked the second Ninja
We're
Turtles.
not the only
This
ones who
movie was
liked
awesome.
it. We're just the only ones who saw it. This is, I think, another situation too. This is a perfect example. This is a stupid movie with character and action, but the first one doesn't have either of that.
Yeah.
Like the
Had
first
no
one is like,
personality.
well, what does Megan Fox think of all this? And I'm like, she is not a character.
No.
She's not the character we want to see, and you're replacing her with action.
She looks like CGI, but she's not.
Yeah, the human cipher character in those movies, they're just always so boring.
Yeah.
It's like,
So they
you
don't
can
have
relate
be.
to this person. It's
Hey,
like, no, I
Bumblebee's a
can't.
perfect example.
Was she good?
Because it's basically Transformers 1 again, where it's like, oh, someone's dealing with teen issues.
Mm-hmm.
How are they going to deal with these teen issues and their wacky parents?
Right.
Except she's really interesting and good. And Shia LaBeouf's Sam Witwicky is not interesting and not good.
And she got a catchy song.
She's also got a great song over
How's it
those
go?
credits.
Gonna pick and do back today.
No.
Nice.
I'll take two, please.
You actually do get two versions, the 80s remix and the normal version.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know. I liked the Bumblebee movie too because they didn't once go like, we need all spark, and it's like it was very small. It was very small stakes, and I think when you limit yourself on how big of a world you're working in, if it's not everything's about the end of the world, you can make a far more interesting movie because you could focus on just the characters.
Yeah, it's hard to relate to the world exploding because that's not something that normal humans can relate to.
Or ever
very
have
well.
to deal with.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it sort of. I guess on the other hand, the Mission Impossible movies work, where, yeah, it's frightening.
It's Shrek?
Yeah,
Oh, we haven't talked about the Shrek franchise.
is it a franchise?
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's like
There's 4 of them?
4 plus Puss in Boots.
I just thought it was just
Best prequel ever. Puss in Boots 3D.
We even
Rock
talked about
Vegas.
Minions. I mean, there's lots of children's franchises
Minions
we
was
haven't
also
even
a
touched on.
prequel.
Beethoven movies.
I mean, so I understand though that some of those movies aren't for me or probably the audience listening to this right now. But like Mission Impossible is one where it kind of went down the same road as Rocky, where it's like, man, I'm getting too old for this. Hey, new Jason Bourne, get in here. We got Hawkeye come along, and he goes, "You're taking the mantle." And he goes, and they think about it and go, "No, you're not.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it." And he goes, "Fine, I'm going to go be Jason Bourne." And then he was Jason Bourne, and they said, "Never mind."
Bring back Matt Damon.
I'm just saying, Jeremy Renner has been promised 2 film franchises now, and he's
Yeah.
gotten 0.
I don't think the
he
public's
also,
buying in.
He also hasn't gotten a Hawkeye
Yeah,
film.
we make Hawkeye
if
movie.
you think about it.
I don't think a Hawkeye.
Bring back
No, I
Home
suck.
Oh, they
Alone
could.
and promise it's Jeremy Renner. You're Home Alone, Jeremy.
So maybe to kind of sum up this a little bit, we're talking about the commonalities, the patterns that make these franchises bad or good or never get off the ground in the first place.
Sure.
I don't know.
Why is
Talent
it-
behind the screen, or what makes them bad? Like,
I mean, generally when they're conceived in a board meeting
yeah, by
between a
computer.
bunch of mathematicians and studio executives who think they're on the pulse of something they're not.
Well, there is that computer software program out there that they run all movies through to decide whether or not it'll make money, and maybe that's the real villain.
No, it's
Is
the
that
people.
machine?
It's the people.
It's the people that
yeah,
run
it's
the
the people
machine.
that use it. I trust
Not
the
that
machine
AI?
more than I trust the people.
I mean, all
Splinter.
all films, for the most part, are made by a committee. There isn't just one person saying, "I'm going to do this," and someone nods their head and goes, "You got it." There's always concessions people are making. People talk about Thor Ragnarok all day and say, like, Taika Waititi got to do whatever he wanted. It's like, that's not true.
No.
That's not true at all. He just rolled with the punches a lot better than probably someone else would have, like an Edgar Wright, sort of, and still made probably a movie he wanted to make. But at the end of the day, there's still thousands of people working on these things. So it's just, how good are you working with people, I guess, and like how much do you want to stick to your guns to make your vision happen? Is probably the good question. There's actually a really great video you should watch. I think some of you guys about it. Adam from Your Movie Sucks did a comparison of Old Boy, original Old Boy, and Old Boy
I
2013.
ended up listening to it.
And that is exactly what happens when someone has no interest in it and just like
Spike Lee.
Spike Lee just didn't want to do it, or he didn't get to
So
make the
all
movie
over the
he wanted
place.
to. So what you get is what you see. And I didn't actually watch the movie, but Adam did such a great breakdown of both movies that I feel like I did. And
I really do like Your Movie Sucks. Since you did that interview, I've been watching him all the time.
He is great. But he did it's an hour and a half long, but it flies by. It's so good though. But that is a great. Old Boy is one of those movies that was made with so much care and love, and then the 2013 remake is just. It's just a cash grab, or who
It's
knows?
an
if it's even-
obligation.
Yeah, it felt like homework.
Feels like an obligation.
Which is weird because you combine Spike Lee and Josh Brolin. That sounds like a cool revenge movie.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah.
Sometimes.
No, Spike Lee's
Both
all
of
over
them
the place.
are like sometimes.
Yeah.
If Spike Lee's into it, he's unbeatable.
Yeah.
If he's not, which he has been several times in the past, you're like, why am I watching
Yeah.
this?
But then Josh Brolin in that movie, some of the scenes they showed, this is some of the worst performances I've seen from him or any sort of actor. Where it's like, he probably didn't have a lot to work with, and it wasn't his type of movie. But it's a
maybe-
great Thanos.
Maybe lost in translation, too. Some things just thematically across cultures just don't,
Yeah.
always.
I don't know.
I don't
like the
know.
incest.
You should watch Old Boy and also watch Adam's Channel because it's really fucking good.
And then watch Ninja Turtles 2.
Out of the Shadow. Well,
Yeah. Well,
that's
are you
Ninja
talking about
Turtles-
Secret of the
Yeah.
Ooze
Yeah.
or Out of the Shadows?
Secret of
because
the
we
Ooze.
have 2 Ninja Turtles 2s.
You know how I could tell this wasn't Ninja Turtles 2? They were using their weapons.
Oh, yeah.
They were allowed to do it in the cool indie version. And the sequel came out and the studio said, whoa, Ninja Turtles can't use weapons. They punch only.
I've never actually seen Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3 because even at the time I was like, you've ruined it. And I was like 9 or something. I was like, nope, this looks terrible.
It's
You've
honestly one of
ruined
my earliest memories of being super excited for a movie and seeing it and then trying to justify to myself that it was better than it was.
No, thank you.
It was this and Batman and Robin. I remember
Yeah.
walking out of the theater
Yeah.
and being like, I don't feel good. Like something's wrong. Like I just sat through and saw my friends, my cartoon heroes do something and something feels wrong. I don't know why I didn't like it. There's something
Yeah.
weird. We should watch this.
No.
Come on,
I
man.
think I kind of like the idea of dying having never seen it.
There's a death scene at the end, which is just great.
Perfect.
There's a franchise that I think is coming to a close that hopefully we'll talk about, which is Unsplitted
Unsplittable?
Glass.
Is it coming to a close or do you think that he's opening it up for more?
I hope he's closing it
Uh-oh.
because I don't know if M. Night
But he needs these
Sustain?
ground ball singles. Anytime he swings for the
Such
fences.
a great metaphor.
Anytime he swings for the fences, he misses hard.
I hope Glass is great, and I hope we get to talk about it a
It's
little bit.
looking good. We'll definitely talk about it.
Let's talk about it.
What?
Talk about
We'll talk
Glass.
about. I thought we were gonna do a review on it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like,
We will talk about
next
it
week or the week
eventually.
after.
Okay,
probably.
gotcha. That's good.
3
Podcast.
years from now when we return to this subject.
Gotcha.
Just,
Podcast.
Like
just to
M.
be
Night.
clear,
Yeah.
I've said it before and I'll say it again. I understand that movies are things that need to make money to exist because they're very expensive. So I do understand there's a business side of it, and I'm never advocating completely ignoring the business side of it. I just think Bumblebee is a perfect example. I said it the last podcast, and I'll say it again. If you have to find something that just basically serves as a treasury note or a check to cash, right? Just copy something better, and just do that.
Steal from the best.
I mean, yeah, Bumblebee copied Iron Giant,
Yep.
and it worked really
Which
well.
Copied E.T.,
Sure.
you know.
Nothing's original, and that copied Mac and Me. So
Yeah, you're
there we
right.
go.
Yeah. So,
All right. Well, cool. Thanks for coming around this week, listening to us talk about some movie franchises. Thanks again, Hims, for bringing us here this week. And anything else, anybody? Or is that it?
I think
I'm
that's
good.
it. I got
No.
everything off my chest.
what else is coming out?
A lot of stuff.
You got a lot of movies to see.
Yeah.
All right. See you guys soon.
Bye.
Bye.
It's dumb. There's no arguing that it's dumb and doesn't make any sense. And then they blow it up
Yeah.
and then immediately make you forget about it. It's like a bad magician. Like most movies should be great magicians. This movie is a bad magician, but still has a really cool trick.
Well, it's
where
like
he's
there was
It's like a loud
you're like,
magician.
oh, you hid the other coin. No! And then he's already